Hey, Dr. Bill here, and I'm excited to introduce you to Chris Bulldog Collins in just a second. But LEAP is really shaping up, you guys. This will be our first year at Pepperdine. Why'd we switch from UCLA? Well, if you didn't hear, the Olympics are going to be at UCLA soon, and they're revamping that whole part of campus. So we got kicked out so they could turn it into an Olympic village. And that's okay. We will be at the beautiful Pepperdine campus, which fortunately did not burn in the fires, but man, was it close. And we have a great lineup of speakers. Paula Abdul, of course. I'm talking to Anthony Hopkins, and he's like 50-50. Amy Adams is about 90% sure to come. And we should have, for sure, Rob Deirdreck will be there, the skateboard champion. And we'll have a lot of others. So please go to our website, www.leapfoundation.com. You will get an up-to-the-minute review of what's going on and what the program looks like. But we look forward to seeing you at LEAP this year. If you are a parent watching this and you have a student 15 to 25 plus and you do not enroll them in LEAP, you are a bad parent. No, actually, it's the greatest program in the world. This program has changed so many kids' lives for the better. And if you have any questions, I'm accessible too. You're welcome to give me a call. But we're super excited about Pepperdine this year, and LEAP should be amazing. And if you want to know a little bit more about LEAP and what LEAP is all about, watch this.
LEAP is an entrepreneurship program for high school and college students aged 15 to 25 that we have taught at UCLA for the last 16 years. What do we teach? We teach students skills to be successful in life. And the coolest thing about LEAP is that I've asked so many of my celebrity patients and business leaders to come and help, and they do. We've had Mark Wahlberg, Paula Abdul, Michael Strahan, Kathy Bates, Anthony Hopkins, Apollo Ono, Eric Garcetti, Jason Alexander. I mean, I could go on and on and on. And these people come and share the secrets of their success with our LEAP students. Typically, we get about 500 to 550 students every summer, and we literally pack them with so much information. It's like drinking from a fire hose. And one of the parts that the students love most is when we bring in these mentors. So we started this Meet the Mentor series because we didn't want this to just be a one and done week. We wanted to do it throughout the year and continue to give these students great information from great mentors to teach them how to do businesses in every field you could ever imagine.
All right, so this is Chris Bulldog Collins. Let me read you his bio a little bit, then we'll get into this. Chris Bulldog Collins is a business fixer, visionary leader, and relentless disruptor. For over 3 decades, Chris has shattered convention with his no-nonsense approach to leadership and business growth. Known as the Fixer for transforming struggling companies into profit-generating powerhouses, Chris operates on a foundation of accountability, decisive action, and innovation. Beyond business, Chris is founder of Syndicate X Library of Leadership, a hub for transformation and community, while his book, I Am Leader, tackles global management crisis head-on, providing an actionable blueprint for developing stronger, more resilient leaders. Chris is an author of 2 best-selling books and has been featured on The Howard Stern Show, CBS, The Couch, and The Wall Street Journal, and, of course, The New York Post. It's my pleasure to introduce you to Chris Bulldog Collins. And where did the Bulldog come from?
Well, early on in business, people would call me the Bulldog because when I, was trying to fix something, I didn't let go. I was relentless. But I also have bulldogs. We have 4 bulldogs. So,
okay.
They say that you look like your pets. Kind of
Really?
look like a bulldog.
I don't know. I think you look a little better than a bulldog. But
I don't look like I've been chasing parked cars.
No, for sure. But you do a really great job in the car space, which we'll talk about in a second. So you grew up in Mexico, and when you were 13, you moved to Washington. And you had this epiphany as a kid, and I actually share that same epiphany. because growing up poor is no fun. And you kind of like stood back and looked at your life and said, I don't want to be poor, right? Tell me how that whole thing evolved.
Well, so the growing up in Mexico, I was a missionary's kid, and when you're a missionary, you kind of live on faith. You wear donated clothes, like, you know, it's in service of others. When you're a kid, you get made fun of. Kids are mean, and I never quite fit in, because in Mexico I was the white kid, the gringo, and in America I was the poor missionary kid that wore the donated clothes and never really connected with people. And so, I always had a lemonade stand in a sense. I was always entrepreneurial and trying to figure out how to make money on my own. But I remember there was a moment when I was 17 where I was, just kind of having a conversation with myself, and just like this bolt of lightning just hit me, and I was like, there's no excuses. Like, I'm going to do this. It's me. I have to figure it out. And everybody around me is giving me bad advice. And, frankly, like, one thing that's really funny is when you're a kid, you kind of can tell that what the adults say and what they do don't match. Like, what people would say you should do and would make you happy was never, the case, because people were miserable. Everybody was poor and, impotent in life in a lot of ways. Like, they were passengers, but nobody really seemed to be in control of their life. For the examples I had, they were victims to whatever the circumstances were. And so, yeah, I just had a moment that I was never the same after. I was like, this can't happen. Like, I can't live this way.
So when you were 17, you started washing cars in a car dealership, and that eventually led to you going into management in that car dealership, correct?
So in that car dealership, I didn't make it into management. I leapfrogged all of that because I went and started working for a consulting company that fixed dealerships. And so I was one of the top performers there, but I was actually never a manager there. I leapfrogged to fixing them and then to running one, to being the general manager.
And you got all of that experience kind of on the job training, right?
Yep. Just learning and, being a student. Like, the reason why I have so many books in my library is because I'm always trying to figure something out and
25,000 books in your library.
Yeah, which I have not read them all.
Okay. Yeah, if you had, I would feel really, really bad about myself. As you were working, you kind of explained to me that you met a man who became a mentor to you. Can you tell me how that whole thing evolved and what it actually led to for you?
A consulting company came into the dealership I worked in, and I was the top performer there, and I made friends with the company. But let
me interrupt. When you say top performer, tell me exactly what that meant.
So I was in the service department. I created the most revenue, I guess. I was top sales.
So selling cars?
No, so I was in service. I did sell cars also, but this was in service. So when you bring your car in to get fixed or maintained.
And probably it's a little bit of an upsell. Like, you came in to get your brakes fixed and you're like, oh, but did you know if you do this or that, the other thing, your AC will be so much better and you can, I don't know, put in a new music system or upgrade your stereo or things like that?
We weren't that advanced. But if you brought your car in and it, was leaking oil or coolant or something, we would tell you about that. So but we
just actually
were
being really thorough and making sure everything was running properly. Got it.
And so the company asked me to talk to some people at another dealership, and I kind of developed this training. And to kind of make a long story short, they ended up paying me to do that training in other places. And all I did is I just paid attention to what I did compared to the lowest performer. And I just, found the gap, basically. And that was the basis of that early training. And then I ended up trading my training that I was doing to them to teach me financial statements and to kind of mentor me, because I knew the key to business was understanding the numbers, and that always was kind of a mystery, you know, to everybody. And so that helped me a lot. Once you kind of understand financials in the numbers, you have a, you know, an understanding, but it also drives your behavior, right? Like, I'm sure you've experienced doctors. I've helped many doctors over the years, and the thing that they'll say is they don't teach us this in school. Like, we're good at being doctors, but we don't know how to run a business. We don't know how to market. Like, you're really good at marketing, but most doctors don't even understand or can't even conceive that really the secret is marketing.
Yeah, and I'm actually not really good at marketing. I'm really good at hiring the right people who are really good at marketing.
It's one and the same, really.
Yeah,
though.
I mean,
you're getting it done.
I understand the necessity for it, although that's not in my skill set. So at least I'm smart enough to know that I'm not good at it, and I can hire somebody who is good at it because I know how integral it is. But let's talk a little bit about, you know, your mentorship relationship and how that whole thing started and how it evolved.
I mean, I think with any sort of mentorship, or my experience has been that I pursue the people, and it's always really pleasantly surprising how willing people are to mentor. Like, I don't know how many times you get offered to mentor somebody. It's rare, right?
Let me tell you something. You are talking about the foundation of Leap. I mean, one of the greatest things, one of the best attributes of this program is that it culminates on Friday with something called a mentorship workshop, which I would love to have you participate in, where we'll have 100+ mentors sitting at tables, and it's like speed dating. Every 30 minutes, you know, we change, and you'll have 10 new students who will talk to you before you come in the day before. They'll get your bio, and they'll learn a little bit about you and what you do. So they already know Chris Bulldog is going to be at table 15, right? And, you know, it gives them an opportunity to talk to, you know, at least 6 different professionals and just ask a plethora of questions from, you know, how did you get started in business to, you know, how do you enjoy it? What have your challenges been? How have you overcome those? So, you know, we are very, very, very focused on mentorship. And I always tell students the fastest way to success is to find a great mentor who will lead you through that.
That's incredible.
And I love doing it. I have over 100 dental students a year just come and shadow me in my office and sit there. And for me, it's such an honor to be able to talk to them and show them the things that we've done in our practice to, you know, become successful.
That's great. Yeah. And so that's kind of the thing I found is if you ask, and then if you ask and you have something you can barter or you can bring value in some way. So early on, I traded my training that I developed for mentorship. And I think they were paying me like $1,500 to do a 4-hour session. And I would just say, like, I'll do them for free if you'll mentor me on financials and kind of teach me the business. But as you know, as I progressed, I learned that you also can just pay people. Like, there's people in different industries with different expertise that I've just called up and said, hey, can I buy a day of your time? And I'll fly wherever it is. And, you know, oftentimes they don't know what to charge for their day. And I'll just propose a number that I'm hoping that they can't say no to, but also will get them to take the time very seriously. But yeah, it's something I've done my whole life is find mentors and experts in whatever it is I'm trying to figure out. Even like in the intelligence community and in psychology and different places that you think are off limits, you can find a way in, and they love to talk about what they do. People love to help, they love to share, and they love to teach, because, you know, if you work really hard at something, it's rare that you get to talk about the real thing that you're doing, you know, right. In a sense. Like I would imagine, like, for example, probably the biggest benefit that you're offering somebody with your services is self-esteem. Like, you're in the business of self-esteem, right? But I think most people probably don't understand that. They think it's dental. but really you're raising people's self-esteem that then makes them take chances and live a better life and connect with people and feel comfortable in different situations. It's way more than just the dentistry, and trying to understand that in different industries and like, what is the real thing that's going on here? Where's the revenue created and what is the real outcome of this? Because it's usually not the thing that we think. There's usually layers to everything.
True.
Would you agree you're in the business of self-esteem?
Yeah, no, 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, a big part of what I do is just drill and fill dentistry. But the part of what I do that I actually love to do the most is transforming people's lives and giving them the confidence to smile and feel healthy and feel whole and feel confident with their smile, because it's really debilitating for somebody who hides their smile or doesn't have the confidence to just smile naturally when they want to.
So in return, they become better friends, better spouses, probably, better in their career and work. Like, all ships rise when people feel comfortable and feel like they belong. And so it's way more than dentistry.
Yeah. So you pretty much started in the car industry, and then you started to branch out into different industries, really just using some of the basic fundamental things that you learned that made that business successful to other platforms and other types of businesses, right?
Yeah, like all business is solving a problem. And so, if I'm fixing a doctor's office or a car dealership or a restaurant, like it all really is the same sort of thing. As somebody comes in with a problem and you're solving that problem, and then how can you exceed that? How can you price it? How can you create systems that have consistency and build a culture and, really kind of understand what it is you're selling versus the commodity? That there's way more margin in the emotional part of things versus the commodity. And so it's all kind of the same.
So if you think back over the course of your career, give me a really stellar example of a business that you walked into, fixed, and got a great result. So kind of like start with what the business is, what their problem was, how you solved that problem, and then the result of you solving that problem. And pick anyone you want. And you don't have to actually name the business if that's a breach of confidentiality. But.
Yeah, so like a gym where the person who owned the gym and had borrowed a lot of money to start it, a big gym too, was a personal trainer. And so he ran it for personal trainers, but he was losing money. And just going in and creating systems and changing the membership, style that they were doing, converting people into personal training at a pretty high level of conversion, and just how to price all that and monetize it. Same thing with like a doctor's office. Like a lot of times doctors they give away all of the supplements and everything to somebody else, but have, controlling the supplements and the, even the, the prescription part of it, like how you can monetize and create continuity inside of a doctor's office can be very profitable, very quick.
So if you had to delineate like the one main thing, which is why that gym was losing money, what would you say it was? The membership just didn't cover the fees, or they weren't getting enough people to join and then actually spend money on private trainers, or what was it that was making them?
I think the biggest part was just it was a personal trainer who started a gym for personal trainers, and that's not monetizable.
And he didn't capitalize on it.
It's about customers, and it's it's about self-esteem too. Like when you're running a gym, like just for example, the questionnaire that you do with a new member as they're getting handed off to a personal trainer, like the questionnaire was like, have you had a personal trainer before? That's irrelevant. Like what I want to know is, do you have energy? How do you sleep? Like what are your goals in your career? Like, because I can tie personal training to that. Like if you feel good, you're going to perform better in the world. And so just making those shifts of, you know, just changing the focus a little bit and aiming at the real thing that's, you know, you can monetize, which is outcomes, you know. No, I mean, no different than what you're doing in the sense of self-esteem.
But the thing that flipped things around and made it profitable was really the ability for him to then get his clients who were in the gym selling personal training and increasing their revenue through that. Correct?
Well, driving new memberships, how you monetize memberships, and then from there giving them a free session with a personal trainer, and then the system for converting them to packages. And, you know, even just to the point of who you had doing that. Like there's some trainers that are really good at training, but they're not good at converting.
Right.
And so having the person that's best at converting being the one that converts people, like really tracking that and, you know, knowing where your leverage is and who's good at what.
Right.
I mean, everything matters in those scenarios.
Yeah. Let's change direction for a second and talk about the 17 laws of leadership.
Well, so the 17 laws of leadership is an insert in my book, I Am Leader. So it's 4 books. There's I Am, which is the first book. Inside of that, there's another book called Shadow. And then inside of Leader, at the end, there's the 17 laws of leadership. And the 17 laws of leadership leads to an online course that comes with the book. So when you activate your book, you get access to the app that has that training in there. So this is just a entry into that.
And who would be the ideal candidate for the online course?
Anybody who wants to do better in business, that wants to improve their entrepreneurial skills and be a leader.
Is the course like taught over weeks? Is it Zoom? Is it live, or it's all
It's in there, and you can just click around and take it as you want.
So there's certain modules, or
currently there's about 35 hours of content in there, and we're always adding.
If you were sitting here talking to any of my LEAP students and you wanted to say, like, here are the 3 most important things you need to master to be successful in business, what would those be?
I think this applies to life also, because I think life and business are one and the same. Like if you talk to anybody who's an entrepreneur, they live whatever it is they're doing, right? It is kind of, they're connected. The first one is having an internal locus of control. And so most people are existing in a world where they externalize control to outside forces. And so if you think about it this way, when things go right or things go wrong, where do you attribute the responsibility? And so most people will attribute the responsibility to fate, to luck, to God, to their childhood, to the market, and to different situations. But to be really successful in business, you need to develop an internal locus of control and attribute any failures or successes to yourself. And what happens when you kind of make that shift? And that was the shift I made when I was 17, is it was like a salvation in the sense that it was very freeing, because when you control your destiny and you attribute the outcomes to yourself, you can change yourself. So you can change your environment, you can change your attitude, you can work on your charisma and connecting with people, you can learn financial statements. Like there's an unlimited amount of things that you can do to learn and make yourself better. And if you have a goal, you want to be successful in a certain area, if you really commit to doing that yourself and own the responsibility and take the responsibility, you'll be an anomaly in the world, because most people, blame outside forces. They make excuses that are very justifiable. Yeah, the market's hard, or yeah, my timing was wrong. All that's very true, but it doesn't get you anywhere. Like learning from those mistakes. And when you internalize control, you look at failures as a feedback loop. It's like, okay, well, let me try it again and do something different, versus it being an indictment of you're a failure, or you don't know what you're doing, or you're not good enough. And so that would be number one. Number two would be just being a student, like being a lifelong student of learning and reading books, seeking out mentors, taking different courses, and just paying attention, like just watching how the money is made, how the business flows. Like most of the time, the secret to a business is not the commodity or the thing. It's the culture that the company has. It's usually a very strong leader. And most companies that fail have a very weak culture and somebody who isn't very good at leading, and that's why they're failing. And then maybe the third one, which I think is really important, is and actually I would say two more if that's okay. One is that the key to happiness is low expectations. Like you can't make somebody happy. And if you think about any time you've been unhappy, it's because of an expectation that wasn't met. The good news, and going back to my first one, is you control your expectations. So if you expected a friend to do something and they didn't do it, that's something you can control. And so in life, if you don't expect things to be easy and you're not entitled to a certain outcome, you'll do much better because you'll over prepare. And when things don't go right, you won't be shocked or you won't mourn for 3 months and lay on the couch and get drunk and whatever it is.
I have to tell you something. I one of my guilty pleasures sometimes at night is I just watch reels on Instagram, and there's a comedian named Monique who is talking about relationships with men and women and why they fail. She said, women, I'm not telling you to lower your expectations with men. I'm telling you to lose them. And you'll be much happier.
Yeah.
But you're right. I mean, having no expectations is the way to go, because then everything that's good is just positive, right?
I think it was London University did a 20-year study, and the outcome of that study on happiness was lower your expectations. That was it.
Or
after all that,
lose them.
Yeah, lose them completely.
Okay, and your last one.
The last one is don't ever expect to put your feet up on the desk and think you won life. Like, it just doesn't exist. And so many people think like, oh, if I just accomplish this one thing, then I'm a valuable person, or I'm a winner, or, I'm now, more important than I was yesterday. You're never going to put your feet up on the desk and win life. And so it shouldn't be something you pursue. Enjoy the journey. Like it's about the journey. It's not the destination. And if you take responsibility for yourself and really work on yourself, if you're, a lifelong student, if you have realistic expectations and you don't feel entitled to anything, and you enjoy the journey, you can have a lot of fun. It is more fun.
It's funny because the journey doesn't end when you hit the top. I mean, there's
always
a
a
whole process to become number one, but one of the hardest things is to stay number one, because the things that you did that got you there don't keep working. I mean, when I first started my dental practice, I had no patience. I mean, I just opened up a practice. So I put ads in LA Magazine, in LA Weekly, like all these. People don't even look at those anymore. Like if I were starting a dental practice today, that's the last thing I would do. I would invest in social media. Well, social media wasn't here 40 years ago. So you need to evolve and change to stay up there. Okay, one last thing I want to talk about. So your career sounds fun and exciting. And if I'm a student, watching this and I say, gosh, I want to do what Chris the Bulldog does, how do you even go down that path?
I mean, I think it starts with owning a business or starting some businesses and learning business. I mean, that's really what it is. I mean, from a very young age, I was doing something to make money, whether it was landscaping or selling jewelry. I'd buy jewelry in Mexico and sell it in the States, or I had a flower shop. Like, I've always owned different kinds of businesses, and just understanding that they're all kind of the same. Like, you're solving a problem for somebody, and the bigger the problem you can solve, the more successful you're going to be.
So the experience, and I think probably one of the things that gave you a giant leap was actually finding your mentor, and then you having the wherewithal to be able to exchange services for even more education. I mean, look, it doesn't matter if you go to college or you learn it on the job. It's all about learning, right?
Yeah. Being a student and just paying attention.
Great.
And I would say too, like one of the, traits that I have that I don't know how I developed is I'm usually the quiet one asking a lot of questions. Like I'm not trying to impose my will on a situation. I'm trying to understand why people think that, the way they do, even to the point where people say like, don't talk politics and religion. And I'm always like, why? You could change my mind. Like, I'm not so sure about anything. Like I want to learn and I really want to understand, because if you understand people and you understand psychology, then you're a better marketer. You're better at solving their problem. You're just better at business. You're better at attracting people. And so psychology is a big part of it too, I think.
Yeah, thank you. And if students want to get a hold of you, what's the best way to do that?
I'm on Instagram. I'm Chris Bulldog Collins on there. That's a good place. Or you can go to iamleaderbook.com too.
And if they are interested in signing up for your course, is there a website or something?
Yeah, the iamleaderbook.com.
Great. Chris, thank you so much. That was awesome. Thank you for coming and bringing him here. Hey, Dr. Bill, over and out.